Hi there, it's February 17th, 2023. I'm Fuzzy D, and this is Fuzzy Road to Health. This is basically just an update since my last video, just to let you know what's going on. So I've actually been down with the flu for, I guess I was down pretty sick for about 7 days. And then I've been fighting the last few days a lot of weakness. So I'm getting a little stronger every day. But yeah, it was a pretty nasty flu. My wife was down really sick too. She wound up getting strep throat from it. So she's been off work for a while too. Moving on. I want to just caution you guys a little bit. If you do run into something where you're sick and you have to take some medications and stuff, you need to be very aware of what's in those medications or supplements. Myself in particular, because I'm immune compromised, and well, up until today I've been taking immunosuppressants, but we'll get to that in a minute. So one of the supplements I use for boosting my immune and getting over stuff like this is it's a medicinal mushroom complex. No, it's not magic mushrooms. It's just, that particular mix was made up of 5 medicinal mushrooms, including turkey tail. Oh shoot, I don't remember the rest right now off the top of my head. But it turns out that it's got a bunch of filler in it, and you know, you'd think that for the prices they charge for those, they could do without the filler, but it had cellulose and maltodextrin. So I had no choice but to take it because it started moving down into my chest, and I've had pneumonia like 13 times in my life, so I couldn't take the risk. And right from the first dose, it immediately kicked off my chronic pain symptoms for all my different autoimmune issues. So like I've got osteoarthritis, and I've also got peripheral neuropathy, and a lot of pain comes with those too. And I've got a few other autoimmune issues in my spine. I've got Sjogren's and ankylosing spondylitis, and I've also got stenosis in my neck. So all of these generally cause a lot of pain. And on the carnivore diet, that pain went away, but when I had to take those fillers with that supplement, it all came back in a hurry. So I had some pretty rough, painful days, and I did eventually get another medicinal mushroom. This time it was a tincture, and that worked a lot better. This one's just pure turkey tail, which is actually out of them all, it's the best for your immune system. Specifically for fighting off virus and bacteria. But I am getting a little bit of a side effect because it's got alcohol in it, and alcohol affects the liver exactly the same way that sugar does. So I've been suffering a little extra with that as well. Hopefully I'm not going to have to take any more, but I'm going to have to find yet a different solution. I may even have to just get the turkey tail mushrooms themselves and then make a tea out of it that doesn't use alcohol. So it's just the reality of my situation with all the autoimmune diseases and everything. I'm ultra sensitive to pretty much anything except animal products. So that's what I'm trying to stick to. And of course, what I thought was pretty interesting is, you know, during the time that I was really sick, I couldn't eat. I was too nauseous, couldn't keep anything down, so I didn't even try. And I didn't lose any weight. So I didn't eat for like 3 days, and I didn't lose an ounce. Matter of fact, I gained 0.2 pounds. So, I mean, that's just crazy. And it just goes to show you how this diet actually works. So now that I'm back on full carnivore again the last couple of days, I suspect my weight will start coming off again probably tomorrow or the next day. So I've been seeing a lot of questions on the groups that I belong to about exactly what it is that I eat and what should be eaten on the carnivore diet and things to be careful of. So it's pretty simple. I eat nothing but animal products, so meat, eggs. Some people are allowed dairy if you can tolerate it. Right now I can't, because too much of the dairy products that you get at the store, like, you know, cheese and stuff, especially like the pre-shredded stuff, it's full of fillers as well. And I tried eating a little, but I immediately reacted. So, and the thing with when you're eating meat like this, 30% by volume of the meat you're eating needs to be fat. That's kind of like the optimal point. So you find that if you keep getting the runs, like runs are normal when you're first starting carnivore. It's a natural consequence of your microbiome having to slough out the bacteria it no longer needs to process plants and carbohydrates and all that stuff, and replaces it with bacteria that's suited to process your meat and fat. So to make that work at a proper balanced level, it's about 30% that you need. If you don't get enough fat, then you'll find that your stool will you'll start to get constipated, so it'll get large and hard. And if you're eating too much fat, it doesn't hurt you, but it'll give you the runs again, and you'll just poop out the extra fat. But once you get the right balance, you'll find that once you've adapted to it, you'll get very little stool, and maybe once a day or once every couple of days is quite normal. Some people go 3 or 4 days and then have a little bit larger of a stool. You know, everybody's a little bit different. But that's going to be one of the first big things that you notice. And the other things that you need to worry about is to maintain all of your proper vitamins and nutrients and whatnot. You need to eat a certain amount of organ meat. So they recommend, out of all the meat you're eating, you know, maybe 1 or 2 meals a week should be organ meat, or you can just mix it in. Like if you're grinding it up into hamburger or whatever, you can mix, say 20% organ meat with the rest of your meat. And that'll work a pretty good balance, and that'll keep you really healthy with all your vitamins. You don't need to take extra vitamins. You're not going to die from scurvy. For one thing, when you're eating nothing but meat, you don't need much extra vitamin C, and what you do need will come from the organ meats. So that's not an issue. Now, you can eat pork and things like that, but 70% of your diet should remain ruminant meats. So that means any animal that feeds primarily on grasses and has like multiple stomachs where they ferment the food. So these are animals like, of course, cows and deer, elk, moose, goat, sheep. You know, so basically anything that's eating grass normally. I mean, they can eat other things if you feed it to them, but you know, that's what they ancestrally were eating. And then you can have up to 30% other meats like pork and non-ruminant meats. So I don't remember the science behind why you shouldn't exceed that level for pork in your diet. I do remember it's pretty important for your health that you try and keep that percentage in check. The other thing you're going to need to look at is getting some good salt. You don't want the iodized table salt if you can help it. So you either want to get sea salt, but you want to get sea salt that comes from like an old seabed or something. Because in regular ocean salt that they would collect, there's microplastics, and they're really bad for you. So stay away from, you know, cheap sea salt. The other option too is like a Himalayan rock salt. That's personally what I use. I prefer it. It's got more minerals and trace elements in it. And then the other thing you're going to want to add is electrolytes. So I personally use Keto Chow electrolyte drops for carnivores, but I'm not, you know, shilling for the brand. It's just the first brand I saw that was reasonably priced and was okayed by the doctors that you'll find in some of the links in my playlists on this channel. So you can take a look at that. And then the other thing that I've added, because I've got thyroid issues and I'm trying to get off of my thyroid medication, so I take a single drop of potassium iodine or potassium iodide, can't remember which, every day. So the electrolytes, I started off while I was still on my medication. I was taking like a quarter, like a 0.25 of a milligram for every time I filled up my thermos thing, which I've got like an 80 ounce metal insulated thermos. This is it right here. And I was going through like 2 or 3 of those a day, but now that I no longer use any kind of like a sweetened drop, even though the flavor drops I was using were artificial sugar, sucralose, I was still finding it was causing me some problems, causing sugar cravings and that kind of thing. Plus, I found out that your body can't tell the difference. If it tastes sweet to your body, as soon as it hits your taste buds, it automatically signals your pancreas to start producing insulin, whether it's actual sugar or not, because it doesn't know. It's going by the taste, right? So it turned out it was spiking my insulin, so I had to give that up as well. So now that it's not sweet, I'm not as thirsty, strangely enough. So I think part of that thirst was tied to the fact that it was spiking my insulin. That's just kind of the reality of it. So I was going through 80 to 100 ounces of fluids a day drinking. Now I'm, maybe 1.25, 1.5. So now, especially now that I'm off my immunosuppressant, and magnesium's no longer going to be an issue for my particular main disease, which is myasthenia gravis, causes severe muscle weakness. Now I put in a full 1 milligram of the keto drops, but I'm still only using just the single drop of iodine per day. So that's basically where I'm at with what I eat. I'm finding that if I have to do a meal where I'm just eating like some hard-boiled eggs or some fried eggs or something, then they'll be done with the whole egg. But if I'm mixing with meat, I actually get rid of the whites, and use just the yolk, because there's actually carbohydrates in the whites. So if you need to stay really super strict carnivore, then don't eat the whites either. But those yolks are just chock full of nutrition. I mean, they're just packed. So they're definitely good, and you can use the egg yolks to make like a gravy for if you just fry up some loose hamburger or something. So I do like using my air fryer for cooking hamburgers and stuff. It's really nice because some of it will escape, but if you cook it right, it gets a nice crust on it, and it doesn't let a lot of the moisture out. And then when it's done cooking, I'll put the hamburger on my plate, and then I'll just take all the oil that collected from the cooking and pour it over top, so I don't lose any. And if it's a pretty fatty meat that I'm starting with, then that I don't add anything extra. But if it's like lean beef that I'm sharing with my wife or something who isn't on carnivore, then I'll actually make the hamburger in 2 layers. So I'll make like a thicker bottom layer, and then I'll put in like a slice of butter that covers almost the whole thing, and then I'll put another layer over top and pinch it together, and then stick that in the air fryer. And you'll definitely get a lot more that leaks out during that process, but you get a lot more fat stuck in the meat as well. And then once again, I just pour it over top. So, and the only spices I'm still using is, of course, the salt, the Himalayan salt, and granulated garlic, and fresh ground peppercorns. And that's it. I was using mustard for a little bit. I had tried some other spices, but I was reacting to them after a while. So, I didn't realize how much I was reacting to all these different foods until I went off of them all. except for the animal products. And then, as I started getting better and all the chronic pain started going away, it was much more noticeable. And so now when I eat something and it flares something, I feel it almost immediately. So just something to be aware of. And I had an appointment with my neurologist today over the phone, and she was looking at all my blood tests and everything. And she officially okayed me for going off Imuran, which is an immunosuppressant. And that is the last of my myasthenia gravis medication. So I'm no longer needing to be medicated for it. And I only started carnivore January 16th. So if you watch my previous video, you know that I lost a ton of weight with keto, but then I stalled out. And, as I was losing weight, of course, I was feeling a bit better, and, some of the pain was going away a little bit. But it wasn't until I went full carnivore that all the pain started shutting down, except for my back injuries. I've got some missing discs in my back and an old crushed vertebrae in the middle of my back. So hopefully, once I get down to a proper weight, I can go in and get my spinal fusion surgery. Then that will be kind of the final step, and my life will be completely different. At some point, I may need to go get some skin removed because, at my heaviest, I was 540 pounds. Since then, I've lost a total of about 172 pounds, and I've got, another 50 or 60 pounds to go. And that's provided I start weightlifting and putting the same kind of muscle back on that I used to have. Back in the day when I was driving tow truck and working out at the gym and riding mountain bike and all that stuff, I was in pretty good shape. I was about 300 pounds, maybe 17 to 20% body fat. And I was in good shape, but when I started having more issues with my neck and had to stop riding bike, it just kind of went downhill from there. And then I started packing the weight on. And then the sicker I got with all the autoimmune stuff, of course, the more the weight packed on. So, there's still a bit of a process to go. But, my initial plan was to try carnivore for a couple months, maybe 3 months, to take a bunch of weight off and then go back to the normal keto diet. But once I saw how it took away all the pain, I made the decision right there. I'm carnivore for life, and anything else would just reactivate all my symptoms and I'd be sick again. So if you're also benefiting from the carnivore lifestyle, there's a big movement on that you probably know about with the government, and they are doing everything they can to start pulling us back from being able to get meat. And they're probably planning on trying to make it illegal. So we've got to fight this every step of the way. They've got some really stupid ideas of why we need to stop eating meat, and they're just ridiculous. And if you look at some of the videos I've got down in the relevant keto and carnivore links playlist, you can find a ton of really good information in there, and it covers that type of subject matter as well. So you may want to take a look at that. I've also got a playlist there of stories from people that have benefited from carnivore. And I'm going to be doing some interviews with other people that are on carnivore. I've got one lined up already. We probably would have already done it, but I was having a few technical issues getting it working right, and then I got sick before I could get it all fixed up. So hopefully next week's video will actually be an interview with a local fellow he's a car salesman. And he's had some really good benefits from carnivore and strict keto diets. So we're going to chat with him and see what prompted him to get going on it and everything that's just done for him. That's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you got something from it. So we're happy you came and hung out with us today for a little bit, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.